Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be looking at this Series X. Apparently got a damaged HDMI port. Let's get you on the overhead and see what's going on. As you can see, boxed Series X. Let's get this bad boy out. What we want to do is have a look at the HDMI port, and we can see there's a hell of a lot of physical damage there. So what we're going to do, we're going to get this plugged in, test for power, give it a minute, see what happens. We've got power, white light comes on, fan spinning, that's all good news. We don't appear to have any issues. I'm going to get the power pulled out of this now, get it over to the bench behind me, get the thing taken apart, have a look at what potential damage is on the inside. The machine doesn't actually look like it's been opened before, so we should be the first ones in here. Before we can get it over to the disassembly bench, there is a screw hidden just where my finger is there. So we're going to give it a little bit of heat, peel back that sticker, because the last thing we want to do is go stabbing a screwdriver straight through. There's nothing worse than when you've come to repair something and somebody's been in it and there's a sticker covering a screw and bosh, somebody just slaps it with a screwdriver. It's not very professional at all. We'll get the hot air station turned on. We'll get that 150 degrees C, 99% airflow. We've got a big nozzle on the hot air. What we need is some tweezers. And what we'll do, we'll just warm this up slowly. That'll soften the adhesive and we should be good to go. See if we can get these in here. And there we go. There's the screw we're looking for. We've got that sticker removed now. We can get it over to the bench behind us and we can get it torn apart and get it repaired. The 8-bit for the most part to get this console disassembled. Just put that sticker back. Top and bottom. I have a little trick for the screws and for keeping track of them. I'll show you that when we get to the point where we need it. Just get this base off. There's a base, put all these parts to one side. There is a little, but just inside here, there's a little clip that we need to release to take the base off. It just pulls forward and the base unclips, and then we've got two further green screws on the top. Sorry, we've got some black screws in there as well. The Series X is one of the tougher consoles. I think that's the right way to explain it, to change the HDMI port on, because the board is so thick and it requires so much heat that even my industrial grade equipment, the Atom 862D, sometimes struggle to get enough heat into the board to be able to remove the port. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the way I do things. It's not necessarily the correct way to do things, but it's the way that I do it. If you do it differently, you are more than welcome to let me know in the comments. I won't be offended. So we've got the console free now with complimentary dust bunnies. Beautiful. Get all that clean. So at this point, we've got a lot of screws in there, and it can be difficult to keep track of what's what. So I normally take a Sharpie and by all of the black screws, I'll just put a little mark. It's difficult to get it wrong because they've all got different threads on. But if you put those marks on the outer casing, it makes it easier, right? This console's definitely not been apart before. Runaway screw. I typically like to lift this bit up, remove the 12 pin that we can see there. Just get the spudger in and press on the clasp for the power for this connector here, and then unclip that, and we can remove the power supply and the top cover as one unit. We don't need to remove this plate, but what we do need to do is get this connector out of here. Now I believe we can, yep, just split those boards, but we need to be careful of this large ribbon. We'll remove that. So this is a V2, where there used to be a plate over here on the V2, they removed it. When you're removing the X clamp, as you can see on this one, just something to mention is just crack off each of the screws in diagonals just to release the pressure. And then once that pressure is released, you can go ahead, take all of the screws out. That X clamp is now removed. Now we just gently get those boards apart. It's a nice clean board. There we go. HDMI port is what we're looking at here. So with the method that I use, I'm going to be heating from underneath the board. Something you really need to be careful of, this little IC here, that is called the ESD IC. What we don't want to do is float that, because one, they're not easy to get a hold of to replace, two, they're a BGA IC, and three, quite frankly, it's a pain in the arse. So we've got the board here, we need to get this port off. I'll set the camera up, show you how we're going to do that, swap the port, put it back together, test it, and fingers crossed we are good to go. So I have new Series X port. A lot of people have issues with the amount of time it takes to get these ports off. So what I'm going to do this in real time, so you can see how long it should actually be taking and how much heat this board actually requires to get it hot. Something that will help is just to put some weight on the board, which I will do. I do this with no nozzle. Now, as I say, this is the way I do things. It's not necessarily the right way, but it's my way. Just going to throw some flux all around that port. We're going to come in and heat the board from underneath, being very, very careful of that chip that we spoke about earlier. These boards take a lot of heat. Sonny, we'll do this in real time, but just put a caption in there of where we're going to skip to for when it's actually finished. There we go. We've got to keep the heat on the board. We're going to get that new port straight down. Make sure it's flat. And remove the heat. Now what we need to do is check the pins and just give them the nudge test. So none of these have actually sat down, but that's fine. Just check. Port is flat to the board, so all I'm going to do, come back in with a load more flux, take my iron, could probably use bit more solder. You get bridges like this, just be patient. Keep cleaning off your iron. Use more flux if you need to. Keep cleaning off the iron. And if, in this case, you're struggling, as in this case you're struggling rather, you can do, just get some wick. Still a bridge that I can see, and I believe I cleared it. We've still got a bridge on that far left pin. Let's get you back in where we want you to be. We've got a bridge and a small one here. There we go. We give this a nudge test again. Just going to clean with a toothbrush to start with. It looks a mess, so let's give it a clean room wipe. Let's have a look at this. Turn our attention to the back of the board, and for this we want the big iron. And let me find the big iron. What we're going to do is just plop a ton of flux on those anchors. Going to come in with the heat and we're going to flood them. Lovely bit of solder. We'll get rid of you. Now we need to clean up this area. And then back in the IPA. IPA hurts nothing. There we go. We are nice and clean. And we still need to push that solder through those ground legs. So we'll come back in with some more IPA flux rather. Turn the iron back on. What I'm going to do is set the hot air to 220 degrees. I'm going to use a big nozzle, and we're going to use this in conjunction with our iron. And we're just going to try and push that solder through those ground legs. without dropping the port. This is why Series X's are not for the faint-hearted. You're seeing firsthand what can go wrong. Give this a clean while it's still warm. Have a little inspection. I believe that it has come through. It doesn't look like it on the camera, but they has actually pushed through. Maybe not so much here. What we can do, this is all about strength. We need this port to be strong, so you can hold the iron here for a bit. A nice solid anchor. Do the same on this side. More cleaning. Good, that's clean enough for me to test. So I'm going to get this put back together to a point where we can test it in the housing, and fingers crossed everything works as it should. So we've got this back to a point where we can test it. It's certainly not back together, has got fresh thermal paste, but we still need to get it apart and give this a good clean out because, well, it's not ideal. What I'll do, I'll get this plugged in, we'll test it, fingers crossed we see an image. Hit the power button, got power, we have an image. That's great. So we're just going to test for 4K, make sure that everything is working. My capture card is playing silly games, but as you can see we're in 4K at 60 there. That's all this TV supports, so that is perfect. What we need to do is get this put back together. We've tested the console, but the console is still absolutely filthy. But the next thing we need to do, give it a good clean. We've given that a good clean out. Now just a case of don't forget to do what I've always forgotten to do. Put the screws back in. Right, remember those black marks we had earlier? This is where they're going to come in handy. The all important strap. Lovely jubbly. One more screw for the power supply connector. We can feed this back into the housing. One screw in there, we'll tighten that up. go. A little bit difficult to see that one. Peel this sticker back again. Screw in the bottom. Final screw in there. Good. There we go. One Series X HDMI port replaced. They are a pain. Do not think they are easy. It is not simple. Even for the equipment and the experience that I've got with them, sometimes they just want to give you grief. But this one's all working. It will get reset. It will get fully tested, and then it'll be out the door to its next owner. If you like what you saw, hit the thumb up button. If you're not subscribed, please think about subscribing. If you didn't like what you saw, drop a comment down below. Drop a comment down below, yeah, that's right, with the reasons as to why. I'm always open and willing to listen to other ways of doing things. But until the next time, take care of yourselves and each other.